Great, great. Okay, so it was a great session. We have been talking about developers and stuff in the last session. I hope everyone would be aware of MERN Stack here, right? So since we are talking about the developers and what developers should know about DevOps. So in this session, we will talk about how easily you can deploy your entire MERN Stack over Kubernetes. So, hi, I'm Abhinav. So I'm working as a DevOps engineer at Devtron. I'm an active open source enthusiast contributor, and I love to share and write about DevOps, Kubernetes, or cloud native ecosystems. You can connect me on Twitter, GitHub, LinkedIn, Dev.to, Medium, Hackernoon, Instagram, almost everywhere I'm available. So you can just ping me there. Let's get started with the session. What is MERN Stack? So since we are talking about the developers thing, what developers do, all those stuff, I hope everybody is aware of MERN Stack. So here, just a simple, just what exactly is MERN Stack? It is nothing but a combination of nothing but a combination of different technologies that makes up the entire stack. MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. So why Kubernetes? Why to deploy Kubernetes? There can be different ways of deploying the entire stack. For each of the technology, maybe for MongoDB, you can build an image and push it to Docker Hub or any kind of registry. For front end, you can use React and you can deploy it to Docker Hub or all this stuff. And maybe you can create a Docker Compose file and deploy the entire stack. But there will be certain challenges with that. You won't be able to auto scale at a scale, or maybe you can take an entire different approach, or you can use the monolithic architecture for deploying your entire stack. But why here Kubernetes? So let's see how and why we will use Kubernetes here to deploy the entire stack. So for deploying the entire MERN stack, we will be using Devtron. So why we need Devtron exactly? Devtron is basically a tools integration platform for Kubernetes. It manages the entire lifecycle of your applications over Kubernetes. It helps you to deploy, observe, monitor all those solutions under a simple unified dashboard. It provides you a lot of different features like resource grouping of your Kubernetes resources, centralized access management, which is a very big pain in the cloud native ecosystem, GitOps driven approach so that you don't have to go ahead and maybe deploy Argo CD or Flux for managing the GitOps thing. It is already integrated with Devtron. Multi-cluster deployment so that you can deploy maybe on AWS or GCP or Azure just from the same dashboard itself. Even if you want to scan for your images, it is all inbuilt integrated, and Devtron has built an entirely different hierarchical security policy which allows you to set policies for your application so that no critical vulnerabilities would go through the production. And the best thing is it's entirely open source. So we will be using Devtron. So it's a complete hands-on session. So we will be using Devtron and we will be deploying the entire MERN stack. Let's get started with the hands-on part. I have used a MERN stack which was already there in the GitHub. So that's the beauty of open source. You get what you want, whatever you want. So I have just took a application front end, back end, which has a MongoDB database. So I will be using that application and I will deploy the entire stack here in the Devtron dashboard. As you can see in the screen, so this is how the Devtron dashboard looks like. Let me just log out and log in here. So this is a preview cluster which you guys can also go ahead and play around it. You can find the link here in the GitHub readme of Devtron here, try Devtron demo, and you can sign up with the GitHub and log in this dashboard, and you can play around it. So first we will be deploying MongoDB database, then we will deploy the backend of the application, and then we'll deploy the front end. So for deploying MongoDB, we will be using the Helm chart. So Devtron has a feature called chart store where all the community managed and almost all the popular or important Helm charts which you need for a production grade infrastructure, you can easily find it here. I will just search for MongoDB, and I guess I got the Helm chart for MongoDB. So this is managed by Bitnami. Let's just deploy this chart. For deploying this chart, you just need to click deploy, then give the app name. I will be giving MongoDB. Select the project for which you want to deploy this application in which you want to deploy this application. Projects are nothing but it's a way to organize your different projects which you are running through, and also it helps you to give the access, which Devtron has an entirely different picture for user access management. Next, the environment, for which environment you want to deploy, in which environment you want to deploy this particular chart. So I will deploy in Devtron demo. Now comes the magic here. So basically, it gives you the entire YAML for this particular chart, where you can check out a different parameters for which you want to give the values. For example, if I'm not aware of anything, any parameter, I can just open the README here and side by side, and I can just check out the parameters. Let's see, full override. So we get the exact description of what this parameter is and what it means, and then we can maybe provide the name if you want. For example, I'm giving the full name override as MongoDB. Then let's go ahead and give the root password for this MongoDB. Maybe I will be giving 123. So this is the root password for this chart. This basically it will be used while authenticating the backend application with database. So that's why I'm providing this password. Now, if you want to explore other different parameters and if you want to play around it, you can do it all from just a single dashboard itself. Let's just deploy it. Just click on the deploy chart and it will deploy the entire chart along with all the Kubernetes resources which are associated with this particular chart. Let's move ahead. Meanwhile, it is being deployed. Let's start onboarding the backend application. So for any of the microservices or basically your application which you have hosted in maybe GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, any of the version control system, you need to click on create custom app, provide the app name, let's say MERN backend. Select the project for which you want to in which you want to deploy this particular application. Let's say Devtron demo. Even for example, if you're having multiple applications already deployed and you want the exact same configurations, then you can use this feature called clone an existing app, which will save your time, while configuring the basic parameters of which you want to deploy. And also there is a field called tags. So tags is basically if you want to associate this deployment to certain labels, if you want to provide certain labels for this application, you can use the tags feature here and you can add a label whichever you want. Let's just create the app from scratch. So whenever you create a new application, you will land into this app configuration page, app configuration tab, where you will have all the configurations, where you will configure all the things for this particular application. The first one is Git repository. It is nothing but where your project is being hosted. So let's say GitHub public. Let me just get the GitHub URL for this particular repository. So open my GitHub account, MERN A to Z. So I have followed it from an open source user, Noor Islam. So this is the beauty of open source. You get everything in the open source ecosystem, whatever you want. I'm not a MERN Stack developer, so I don't know how to build it. I just found it, and I will be using this application. So okay, click on next. The second one. As I was saying, we have to set up the container registry if you are trying to deploy using all the things, maybe using Docker Compose or things. So in the similar manner, you have to set up your container registry, which you can do it from. So you can set up your container registry, any container registry which you are using, for example, ECR, Docker, Azure, or any of the container registry, maybe JFrog. So you can just provide the registry URL and you can save it. We will be going ahead with the default one which we have already set it up. So we will be going ahead with this Docker Hub container registry. In the local build config, you will get all the options for the container registry which you have added in the global configurations. So we have only one, so we are getting only one container registry option. Provide the username / your application name, MERN-backend. You need to provide that path, the Docker file, where Docker file is present in the particular your source code. Save the configuration. Click on next. Then comes the deployment template. So deployment template is basically all the magic happens here. So all the configurations for your all the Kubernetes configurations which you do, traditionally you write a lot of different YAML files, right? For ingress you can create a different YAML file. For service you create different YAML files. For deployments you create different YAML files. All those things can be configured here only. So my application is running on 8082, so I will change the port to 8082. Then let's see what else we can configure. Maybe I can create an ingress for this particular application so that we can expose it and see the application live. The let's see, let's say the host is backend dot Devtron dot this is the backend host. And maybe if you want to, or if you want to set up auto scaling or KEDA auto scaling, all those things can be configured here in the deployment template itself. Let's increase a bit resources. Let's say 0.5 CPU, 100 MB memory, 0.1 request, maybe 50 MB request. If you okay then, so if you want to mount some values or anything you want to do in the Kubernetes configurations, all those things can be achieved here in the deployment template section. Just click on save it. Next. Now we comes to workflow editor. So in workflow editor, there are three different options. Let me show you the options. Continuous integration. So in continuous integration, basically you build an image and deploy an image in the Devtron itself. Link CI pipelines. For example, you have different repositories and you want a single image for all those for your source code, then you can use the link CI pipeline feature. And incoming webhook, for example, your application, your image is built in somewhere else in some external systems, and you just want to deploy using Devtron, so you can use the incoming webhook feature and get the image and deploy it through Devtron. So we will be going ahead with the continuous integration. The first one is the CI pipeline. So in CI pipeline, we get different options. The first is the pre-build stage, where you can set maybe test cases or load testing, or if you want to set a penalty for your application, for your scanning your code quality, or if you want to execute some custom script, maybe Python script, Node script, any script you want to execute, all those things can be achieved here in the pre-build stage. In the build stage, you get different options to trigger. Maybe if you want automatically, if you want your build to be triggered automatically whenever you push some code to the branch, it will automatically trigger. And if you want to manually trigger it, you can set it to manually. You can enable scanning for this particular image. Whenever the image will be built, it will automatically scan the image for vulnerabilities if there are any. Branch name, let me just confirm the branch name once. So we have two branches, master branch and MERN demo. So I will be going ahead with the MERN demo branch. Okay. So in the build pattern as well, you get different options to build your image. Branch fix is basically from a certain branch if you want to build your image. If you are having some regex, so you can use branch reject features if you want to build using the regex. If you are having any pull request and you want to test it first you want to test the pull request, and then if you want to merge it to the main or the things, all those things, you can use the pull request feature to build your image for that particular pull here. And if you are using tags in your environment, then obviously you can use tags for particular tags for building your images. So I will be going ahead with the branch fix. Also, if you are having any additional arguments which you pass while building your Docker image, those can be passed from here itself. Create a CI pipeline. Once CI pipeline is being created, we need to create a CD pipeline, which will be used for your deployment. So in the CD pipeline also you get different options. Pre-deployment stage. If you want to prepare your environment before deployment, for example, if you are having some if you have certain things like if you want to configure some parameters or environment values, or if you want to import configure from some other resources, then all those things can be configured here in the pre-deployment stage. In the deployment stage, you get like in which environment specifically you want to deploy. For example, I want to deploy on Devtron demo environment. The namespace would be Devtron demo, and I want to execute the pipeline manually. Then I can set it to manual deployment. and deployment strategy. As in the last one also, Nitin was saying about the different deployment strategy that developer should know about. So if you're using Devtron, then you don't have to think about the critical. You don't have to think about the critical things here. You can simply select the different deployment strategies here, and it will automatically work for you. So by default, the deployment strategy is rolling. So you can use the rolling. We will be going ahead with the rolling deployment strategy. And if you have a certain script or something you want to test in the post deployment, when the deployment is being completed, maybe you have certain script and you want to send a mail, or you want to check the deployment status, or all those things can be configured here in the post deployment stage. Let us create the deployment pipeline. So once the pipeline is being created, you can simply you can simply start the build for building this particular application. Go to build and deploy tab, select material. Here you will get the latest commits for this particular branch which you have selected. So let's just start the build. Once the build is start, you will be able to see the logs here, the source code artifacts, and the security scanning which we have enabled for it. Meanwhile, the image is being built. Let's see the config map and secrets as well. So config maps are nothing but it is basically used to store your environment variables in Kubernetes. So you can either you can create a config map from here itself, or if you have already created your config map in your by using terminal, then you can add that config map using this Kubernetes config map. Provide a name, for example, demo config map. You can either mount this config map as a file or mount it as an environment variable. Let's go with the environment variable. If you want to mount all those environment variables in a particular file, then you can use the data volume and provide the path directory for this particular config map. Just say username Abhinav. Say this config map. The next comes security. So in Kubernetes, basically, there are different ways by which you can use secrets. So the traditional, either you can create a secret directly from here in the Devtron UI, or you can directly mount an existing secret which you have created from terminal. Or in most of the organization, what people do is people store their secrets in maybe third-party vault, for example, in HashiCorp Vault or in AWS Secret Manager. So all those things for importing all those things and using in Kubernetes, it's a kind of pain. You need to deploy the controller. You need to write some YAML files. If you're using the latest XML secret operator ESO, then you will have to set up. You will have to first deploy the controller. Then you will have to deploy state store. Then you will have to deploy the XML secret. But here in Devtron, everything is already configured, and you can, if you want to, for example, if you select the AWS Secret Manager. In the sample, you will get the entire script. You just need to copy paste and you just need to provide the secret name. That's it, and it will automatically fetch your secret from AWS Secret Manager. So we don't have anything on the AWS Secret Manager right now. So let's go ahead with the basic Kubernetes secret. Let demo hyphen secret. Let's just write the name demo hyphen secret. Let's password maybe. Save it. Well, I think image should be okay. It's running. Okay, so it's in running state. Basically, it is taking time. It took this much time because for the cost optimization, what we do is what everyone should do actually is we are running the entire CI build on the spot nodes. So whenever there is a request, a node will come up in the runtime, and then the build will be assigned for that particular node. And once the build is done, the node will be destroyed. So it is really helpful in cost optimization, and is aggressively used by the enterprises as well. Now, our image has, as you can see in the log, our image has been built and image has been pushed to this particular container registry. Now, security scanning has been started as we have enabled the security scanning for this particular image. Also, I think MongoDB chart has been deployed. So once the chart is deployed, any chart, be it MongoDB or maybe you are setting up a monitoring stack, or maybe you are setting up a logging stack, for example, ELK or EFK. Whenever you deploy a chart, once the chart is deployed, you will get to see this interface where you will get to see the application status application status for this particular chart, when it was updated, and which chart it has used. So here in the downside, you can see the resource grouping of all these Kubernetes resources. So workloads. So these are the workloads which were deployed by this particular chart. In the networking, you can see the enterprise and the service. So this is the service for this particular MongoDB, which was deployed by the chart. External custom resources which was deployed by this chart, RB queues, config map, and storage. All these things are grouped in a particular way so that debugging becomes really easy. If something fails, then you can easily debug by using this resource grouping of Devtron. Also if anything happens in, for example, if you delete some resource, or some resource goes through crash to backup, or there's some issues with the resource, then the application status will change to the particular depending upon what happened. For example, if you delete a particular resource, then the application status will become missing. So these are certain things which Helm also doesn't provide, which are already integrated in the Devtron. If you want to check out the deployment history, you can check out the deployment history entirely. You can check out the values as well. Since it is the only deployment we have, we don't have a history here. And even for example, if you want to compare it with the previous values, we won't be able to get. I think we won't be able to get the much difference here. You can compare. You can compare your deployments with the previous deployment as well, which is one of the additional features which Helm CLI originally doesn't provide. These are some of the things for Helm chart deployment. Now I think the image has been made here for the backend application. Let's just deploy this image. For deploying an image, you need to click on select image, select the particular image which you want to deploy, and you can check out the if you click the source info, you will get the commit for which this image was built, and the security is scanned. So okay, we have some low severity. That's fine. We can go ahead with the demo. Let's click on deploy. So now it will be deployed in a minute, I guess. So let's deploy the front end as well. The backend will be deployed in a minute. So again, we have to follow the same steps for the front end as well. So just click on custom app name, maybe MERN front end. Select the project, Devtron demo. Let's just clone the configuration from the previous app. So we have deployed MERN backend. So configuration should be almost same. We just need to change. We will just changing the maybe host URL, because we don't have the same host. So we will change the host URL, and maybe the port number would be changed. Almost all the configurations would be same only. So let's go ahead and use this feature. Clone in there. So yeah, we need to change the GitHub URL as well, which is very much required. Let me just go ahead to my GitHub repository, GitHub account. Select the GitHub repository, the front end repo. Copy the source link, paste it here. Okay. Next, Docker build config. We can change the name maybe to front end. The path will be the same. The Docker file is built at the root only. Click on save. Let's move to deployment template and change the port. Port would be 80, and host will be front end. Front-end.Devtron.info. Perfect. Rest we can let it be the same only. That won't be an issue. Update it. You need to create a workflow editor. So in the workflow editor, for front end, we are building manually. The branch name would be, let me just verify it once. What are the branches we have? MERN demo and master. So we will use MERN demo over here also. MERN demo. Security scanning. Let's not enable this time. Update the pipeline. For deployment, again, we are deploying on the same environment, Devtron demo. Let's let it be the same. Okay. Let's start building the image for front-end application as well. We are getting the latest changes. Perfect. In config map, again, it will, So we have this demo config map. We have this demo secret. Okay, here one more thing, environment overhead. So basically, if you are deploying this particular application in different environments, maybe in Devtron demo, let me just show you instead. From a single build, you can create multiple different. So from a single build, you can deploy to multiple different environments. Let me deploy this in the preview environment instead, or let it be manual. Create a pipeline. So for each environment, you get a different environment overhead, and if you are making any changes in this particular environment overheads, these are completely independent from each other. So you can easily deploy an application to maybe from a single image, you can deploy it to QA or staging, or maybe you can deploy it to the production environment. So you can play around it here in the environment overheads and make changes if you want to. Since let me just change the host for preview because it might give us an issue because the Ingress host is same. For making any changes, you need to click on allow override so that you will be able to make changes here. Let me just change the front end demo. Front end demo. Perfect. Save it. Okay. Okay. So yeah, image has been built for front end as well, and backend I think image was already built. Let me just open the backend. Yes, so backend the application is also deployed. Yeah, here we can see the entire status of the application in the app details. So basically, in app details, again in the similar manner, you will get the application status here as handy because all your Kubernetes resources deployed with this particular application is handy. If anything goes wrong, the application status would be changing in the real time. It will give you the deployment status like just click on details and you will get the the entire steps how it was deployed. So since we are using the GitOps approach, uh, at the backend we are using Argo for the entire GitOps thing. So it will show you the GitOps commit, kubectl apply where the application is when the application is deployed, and the application is status once the application is deployed. The time when it was deployed and by whom it was deployed. If you are deploying into multiple environments, you will get an option here for selecting different multiple environments. Now you can see the application metrics, memory users, CPU, throughput, latency. Since I have not enabled the deployment metrics here, that's why I am not getting the throughput and latency, which you can enable it from deployment template itself. Here in deployment template, you can enable so application metrics so that you will be able to see throughput and latency as well. Here at the down, you can see the entire Kubernetes resources which we are deployed along with this particular application. For any resource, for example, this is pod. Maybe I want to check out the logs, and I can just forward it to this particular pod. Click on logs, and I will be able to see the logs. Perfect. MongoDB connection is done. The server is running perfectly. So that's okay. You can, if you want to check the manifest, you can check out the manifest here in the UI itself. Almost everything which you do by using kubectl commands, uh, that can be achieved here with the Devtron UI easily, which is really helpful for developers because they don't want to go ahead and write these kubectl commands for every small thing. They can simply go inside the terminal here and execute their commands if they want to. All the debugging and logging things can be easily achieved using Devtron just by this address tab once the application is deployed. You can check out the events here for this particular deployment. So networking, okay. Service, this is MERN backend. Perfect. Let me just say, ingress is not being created. I think I said not given the ingress class name. Okay. Let me just go ahead. Allow override. In the ingress section, yeah, it was set to false. So if you want to create an ingress, then you have to enable the ingress, provide the ingress class name, then provide the host. What's it done? Okay. Just save it. Just save it. And for any deployment changes which you are doing, you don't have to build your image. You simply can deploy it again, and it will be done. Similar way for the front end as well. Let me just check it once. Since the different demo. Okay. Let me just check it once if I have not enabled, I think. So in the deployment template, ingress, Okay, here also it is false. Let's make it true. Okay, I will not be able to make any changes until I click on allow or whatever, right? Let me just make it to true. Give the class name in the next. Then I think that click on save. Now deploy it to demo environment first. Perfect. Perfect. So it is started deploying this particular application. In one backend also it is, I think it has deployed. No. So it is still here in the deployment stage. You can check the progress till where it has reached. So once it will deploy, you will get the status as healthy. For all your builds which you will be building, you can check the build history where you will be able to see the logs for this particular build, source code against which this image was built, artifacts for it, and security as well. If you have enabled the security scanner, you will be able to see. Also, for the security, you can just go ahead with the security security tab here, and you will be able to see all your application. As I have mentioned earlier, we are having a hierarchical security policy. That is, you can apply a security policies from a cluster level to environment level to a particular application as well. So here you can see all these applications which are deployed here and the security scan results here. For example, for MERN backend, we have this CV, the severity is low, package name, this particular package name, the version in which it was fixed. So you can go ahead and check on that version and fix your particular container image and then again build it. So these things can be set from here itself. You can filter it out using the vulnerability criteria, low, moderate, or critical, the cluster for which you want to filter out the images, environment, everything can be achieved here. And the cluster policy, security policy, you will be able to see the global security policies, cluster application, and environments. All these things are available in the security tab here. Okay, done. I think application was deployed till now. Perfect. So we get the ingress. So for ingress, let's just see the host. Click on the manifest, hover it, click on the manifest, and you will be able to see the entire ingress manifest here. This was our host. Let's see if it is up or not. Okay, just is the host. Okay, so it's working. Backend is up and working. So let's just see the front end if it is working or not. For the front end application, let's see if we got the ingress. Yeah, we got the ingress. Perfect. Let me just check it once. Perfect. I think it's working. Yeah. So this is the application. It is not built by me. So I'm not aware of the all the MERN's concept. I just took it from a GitHub repository, which was contributed by one of the open source users. Let's just see if it is working perfectly, if it is connected to the database or not. So let's try to add a book. Title of the book may be KTS 020. ISBN number, let it be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Author, let's Abhinav is the author. Describe the book. It's an amazing, it's an amazing book, and it was written on the same day today itself. Publisher, let's say Devtron is the publisher for this particular book, and submit the query. Perfect. So yeah, it is connected to the database as well, since we are able to get the API request here. Whenever we try to add a book, we will add a book. The request will be sent to database, and from database it will be queried here in the UI. If you try to click on the link, so you get an option to delete this book or edit this book. Let's just try to edit it once. Let's change the number. Let's use it. Then update the book. Perfect. If I try to click on show book list, okay, we are getting. So the entire MERN Stack has been deployed here, and with just few clicks, everything you can see in the UI, every single thing you can configure in the UI itself, and in this way easily you can deploy your applications frequently and will help you. It will help the developers to improve their productivity and efficiency while while building your applications and deploying your application and scaling it. So this was all about. Also, if you want to play around this application, you can just go to Devtron's GitHub repository. Okay, got it. You can go to get Devtron's GitHub repository. In the README, you will be able to see this demo app. So basically, the URL is preview.devtron.ai/dashboard. You can go ahead, authorize your GitHub repository, and you can sign up and have a look, have a taste around this entire Devtron stack. And if you have any query, you can join our GitHub community and raise your query. If you have any doubts, if you want to contribute to the Devtron, you can contribute in any way. Maybe if you like the product, you can write a blog around it. You can create a video around it. If you want to work on some issues which are already being created, you can check out the GitHub repository and do connect us in the Discord channel and let us know if you have any queries. Thank you. I guess that was all. If any query is there, please let me know.
Thank you very much.